And we are off. It is the weekend. Well, good start. It's the week wrap up. Not we're weekend preview, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
Edition of the All Dolphins podcast. I'll take off my glasses for a second. No, I can't see without my glasses. So keep them on. Not wearing the contacts. And with all that babbling, it's delaying me from introducing Chris Perkins as if he needs any introduction. Perk, how are you, bud?
I've got my contacts in. I'm ready to roll.
Yes, I had an eye infection earlier this week, so protecting the eyes. Except without those, I can't make out your name right there. So.
Yeah, I'm bad without mine.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we're obviously going to talk schedule. We're going to talk schedule release videos. We're going to talk Tyreek, Jalen Ramsey. What do I have? Jordan Poyer on my list. I have Devon Achane on my list. And whatever else your little heart desires, my man Perk.
All right, let's talk some Panthers. Oh, sorry.
Hold on. Well done for the Panthers, who are the envy of every sports franchise in South Florida right now.
Yep.
One win away as we are taping this from a third consecutive appearance in the Eastern Conference Final, leading the Toronto Maple Leafs 3-2. And for those who have asked, even though I was born in Canada, I have lived in the U.S. quite a long time. I covered the Panthers in one capacity or another for a good 20 years until I stopped the season after they got to the Stanley Cup final, lost against Vegas. So thank me for them actually getting over the hump and winning the following year. So yes, my allegiance there would be with the Panthers. And anyway, and as I said before, the playoffs began with Joe Rose on his show. They're going to be a tough out, no matter if they don't win the Stanley Cup again, they're going to be a tough out. That's the way that team is built.
Yep.
Unlike some other franchises in South Florida, which shall remain nameless at this moment to protect the identity of the innocent.
Is anybody innocent in this thing? I mean, the Heat, the Marlins, the Dolphins. I don't think any of them are innocent anymore. They've had their chances. They've messed up.
It's a very good point. And there's some similarities between the Heat and the Dolphins with disgruntled stars, and unfortunately, that's not good. See what we got here, Perk.
Yeah. The graphics department has been rehired. I like
about that. Better than the 500 episode, of course. I know exactly why we have shadows on. Let me try this again. How about we do? See, I tried to get cute. The audio also is removed. Anyway, you'll have to live with us on each side or behind it. You see the schedule here. You should know it by heart. You should know it by heart as we see this. So it's the first time I've had you on the show since the schedule came out. I guess the obvious first question is what stood out to you first and foremost?
5 road games of the first 8. And I know to a lot of people, the no September home games or the lack of, because you do get New England in week 2. But starting 5 of 8 on the road is significant to me. They're 10-18 on the road under Mike McDaniel. I don't know that winning percentage off the top of my head. I want to say it's .357. And most of your good teams, 10 divided by 28, most of your good teams are around 500.
Thanks, Perk.
That's about all I can contribute to the show. Most of your good teams are around 500-ish on the road. So, the Dolphins are a little bit behind when it comes to that. However, they do finish with 3 of 5 on the road also, but they are 24-9 against non-playoff teams, and those 3 road games, the Jets, the Steelers, and the Patriots, should all be non-playoff teams. So to sum this up, it might be a slow start, but it should be a good finish. I'm thinking 9-8 right now without Jalen Ramsey. That's what I've got the Dolphins at right now.
Okay. And see, to me, I look at, and I get you're very big on the home and away thing. I'm looking more at the opponent, where in the first 8 games, we're looking at Indy in the first game. And I'm sorry, it's a road game, and the Dolphins lost there last year. They lost there because they had Tyler Huntley. Oh, and he was injured on top of everything else, and they had to finish with Tim Boyle versus Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson if he doesn't run out of gas, as the Atlanta Falcons scheduled this video show,
Right.
or maybe in the Chargers. I'm not sure. That was some funny stuff right there.
Yeah.
Then you got New England, which I expect to be a much better team, but it could take a while.
Yep.
In week 2.
Right.
Carolina is a team that, again, if the Dolphins are supposed to be the team that they want to be, it's a game they should win. The Jets, same with the Jets.
Yep.
So, and then the back end, you got to get some Bear games at home against Tampa Bay. Made the playoffs last year.
Yes.
Actually won the last 3 NFC South titles.
Yep.
At home against the Bengals.
Yep.
So to me, I looked at it more as in it's fortuitous that they weren't given a ton of their nastier assignments early on, particularly in light of the situation, the cloud hanging over Mike McDaniel's head in terms of job security, however hot the seat might be.
Yeah, you know what? I do think that looking at the first, I think when you talk about Mike McDaniel keeping his job the whole season, to me, like the first 4 to 6 games are the key. You don't want to start 0-4. You don't want to start 1-4. You don't want to start 0-6. I think the schedule is very fortuitous from that standpoint that they should start 3-3 at worst, maybe 4-2. And I say that, I don't know who's going to be playing cornerback aside from Cater Kohu. But I do think, again, this offense ought to average 25 points per game. This offense has pretty much everything that it needs right now. And the depth is good, except on the offensive line, which is often the case. So the offense ought to be able to carry this team, especially early until the defense catches up. I think Mike McDaniel should get off to a reasonable start. You do have that stretch after you play 5 of 8 on the road. You come back for that stretch that starts Baltimore, Buffalo, Washington. Baltimore, Buffalo at home, Washington, and Madrid. Tough stretch, but 2 of the 3 are at home. And the Dolphins, yes, I am huge on home road. The Dolphins, they win like 72% of their home games under Mike McDaniel. I can't remember the number off the top of my head. So, look, I've got Buffalo penciled in as a home loss because they just don't do well against Buffalo, 1-6 in the McDaniel era. But look, Cincinnati and Tampa Bay, the Dolphins could win those games. Now I know the Dolphins don't play well late in the season. They don't play well against playoff teams, but these are home games. I think the Dolphins should be able to finish the season pretty strongly this year.
Which would be a nice change, actually.
It would be a huge change, but I still see 9 wins now.
We also should mention that the Dolphins are perfect in season openers under Mike McDaniel, plus the last Brian Flores season opener, which was against the Patriots, in 2021. So the Dolphins now have won 4 consecutive season openers. Yeah, got a ways to go to match the franchise record in that department, which was 11, I believe it was, until it was ended by the Houston Texans in their second year of existence in one of the most stunning games I've ever seen. It was one of those where Dolphins are not really going to lose that game, are they? And you want to talk about bad losses in franchise history. And no, I don't mean to bring back bad memories, but for some reason that jumped out at me. It was a season opener. Your level of surprise when you saw the Dolphins initially assigned 5 primetime games?
Hugely surprised. I thought the fascination with the Dolphins to that extent had ended with last year's disappointment with Jalen Ramsey's imminent departure, can we say? But, look, good for us. Good for the Dolphins because there's still excitement out there, both from TV and from a national audience standpoint. The NFL is usually pretty accurate on stuff like this. And I know, they're going to keep televising the Dallas Cowboys, but the Dallas Cowboys get numbers. The NFL is very aware of that.
And the New York Giants.
And the New York Giants. Right. They know who gets numbers. And so this tells me that they think, and they know the Dolphins have gotten numbers recently, and they think the Dolphins will still continue to get numbers. So I do like that there's still some public confidence, some public interest, some public fascination with these Dolphins.
Yeah, and as I wrote on Miami Dolphins on SI.com, it is quite the contrast between the level of confidence in the Dolphins from the NFL.
Yes.
Which again wouldn't put them on prime time as 5 times if they thought they were going to go 6-11.
Right.
And odds makers, because
Yep.
there's a set of odds that have come out for the entire season. And if you look game by game at the Dolphins and whether they're favored or underdogs, it's not painting a pretty picture. So that is very interesting. And along those lines, Atlanta Falcons also had 5 primetime games. That's also really interesting to me. Like some expectations there, the usual suspects, along with the New York Giants. I should mention the Chicago Bears will also get a ton of primetime games because of the Chicago Bears. Yep. Are you like me? Am I just grumpy old Vic Fangio fan, or are you like me, like KC Chiefs 9 takeaways, standalone games, Dallas Cowboys 8 standalone games, both of them on Christmas and Thanksgiving? Like, enough already. We just spread the wealth a little bit?
I kind of am.
You like dynasties? I forgot. Sorry.
That's right. That's right. I like dynasties, and the NFL knows how to make money. So, unfortunately, I support the NFL in this. I'm still fascinated with Kansas City. I do want to see almost every game they play. You can keep the Dallas Cowboys, but I understand that. And Jerry Jones understands that. That's part of the reason why he speaks every game or after every game. It's part of the reason he's got a radio show. He's investing in his own product. People want to hear his ridiculous babble, and he knows it. And he feeds the monster. Congratulations to Jerry. We're all sick of it, but that man knows how to make money. This league knows how to make money. It's why, I mean, some of the new platforms that have games this year is just crazy, but that league just prints money. So, yeah, the oversaturation of Kansas City, I want to see. The oversaturation of Dallas, I don't want to see, but indirectly, it pays my mortgage.
And by the way, you made some excellent points there, my friend. Since I give you a lot of crap sometimes, I'm going to acknowledge as well. There was a lot of very, very good points there. Yeah, no, absolutely good points. It's just for me, and it's like, and I can stomach KC more because they've earned it being as good as they are.
Right.
So, although count me among those, I'm not going to watch that Netflix special that's coming up about the Dynasty or whatever it's called, or I don't even know if it's on Netflix, on a streaming service. The Cowboys haven't been to the NFC Championship game since, what, 95? I mean, but again, they are masters at finding a way to stay relevant. Did you laugh as much as I did at the Chargers schedule release video?
It was hugely entertaining. You know, they do a good job. They nailed Mike McDaniel before 2023 with the vape pen. You know, they are very, very creative. I'm sure that there are a lot of people around the NFL that have gotten jobs based on those promo videos. The Dolphins media relation person, Stewart, I don't know her last name. She left 2 years ago. I don't know if she was in charge of the schedule release videos. She was very active in their online social media stuff. The Dolphins videos have gone down the last couple of years, but they have. That's just kind of the fact. That's the fact. But she did a very good job for them all around. I think it led to a job in another outfit out of the NFL, but a promotion for her. And what I'm saying is, I bet the Chargers people who do that, they're being looked at by other industries, maybe other teams in the NFL. The Chargers are on top of their game when it comes to social media. They really are.
And the number of Easter eggs, little shots, little details that throw in there.
They pay attention, don't they? They pay attention to the league.
Yeah. They don't miss a thing. For those who didn't see it, I would imagine you did. they're all out there. Just go on social media and click the team name, and you'll get the schedule release video. The Dolphins went with basically a message for the 2025 season, narrated by Zach Thomas, which is a nice touch.
Excellent.
But
Excellent.
It's very direct, very straightforward. There's no, and it's kind of like a hype video.
Yeah. 3 years ago, 2023, they had a good one, right? 2024 was Tyreek and Raheem, wasn't it? They were the fastest team in the NFL, and they read the schedule real fast. Or it seemed like 2023 they were really creative, really on top of their game. It seems like, but I can't remember exactly what they did. But the Dolphins' social media overall is on their stuff too. I don't want to. The schedule release videos, I think, have been disappointing the last couple of years, but they've become kind of a victim of their own success. They set a fairly high bar with, everything that they do, from the elevator. They show what's been on the elevator every week, and they kind of seem to be in a lot of play. I know every team is in the post-game locker room and all that. The Dolphins just seem to do a good job promoting their players, promoting their product on social media. They're on top of their social media game.
Well done, Perk. Well done.
I dug my way out of that, didn't I? When the Dolphins look at this, they're going to say, all right, he's well done. He can stay. He can come back.
And you mentioned the elevator. That showed up in the Chargers release video with the Dolphins, and it showed Justin Herbert as a doors.
They're sharp.
The Giants having nightmares about Saquon Barkley. Some hilarious stuff. And then, of course, there was the Colts video, which was – this is, to me, was a hilarious story because it was taken on. If you're not familiar with it, it showed the Minecraft thing, and it showed Tyreek, because he plays for the Dolphins, swimming in the ocean, and you have the Coast Guard boat coming over to ostensibly arrest him. And it was taken down, and the Colts released a statement apologizing and also explaining that part of the reason was insensitive nature of the joke regarding Tyreek Hill, and also because of copyright issues with Minecraft, which they didn't clear appropriately, like the Chargers did, obviously, because theirs is still up there. And then Tyreek goes, should have kept that up. That was funny. And then he comes back with another one of those little 5-second clip of him taking a little jab at the Colts. I mean, and like I wrote, say what you want about Tyreek. He can take a joke, and well done for little jab back right there. That was really good stuff.
Yeah. Tyreek is a really funny, entertaining guy. We all know it. He has some knucklehead tendencies, but he's a really funny, entertaining guy, got a great sense of humor. He took it in stride, and I like that. Quite honestly, I didn't see what was insensitive about the video, because I understand them taking it down, because you are dealing with a legal matter. But I didn't think, because Tyreek's deal before Jacksonville wasn't a domestic incident. Nobody ended up being hurt. Nobody ended up going to jail. So poking fun at it the way that they did, I thought was acceptable. But it was a police legal matter, so I could understand it being, a sensitive area. But I thought it was. I did think it was okay. But beyond that, I'm glad to see that Tyreek took it in the spirit that it was intended, not the spirit that maybe it was interpreted, but the spirit that it was intended.
Yeah, and one big question, too, is if we gave the Colts truth serum, what percentage did the Tyreek joke play in them having to pull the video compared to the fact that they might have had copyright issues with Minecraft? That needs to be said. Yep. With the schedule as well, this was not on the graphic, on that brilliant graphic that I put up there. But,
nice job.
Right. Take a screenshot. The Dolphins also announced their 3 preseason opponents. It's at Chicago, at Detroit, home against Jacksonville. Nice for a change. No Atlanta, no Tampa Bay. No offense to those teams.
Yeah.
And dates and times have not been released. There's some teams that have already released dates and times, not the Dolphins, not any of their opponents. So we don't know what the deal is. Would highly suspect, based on the fact they've done it every summer with Mike McDaniel as head coach, there will be joint practices. Last year they did, and teams are limited to 4 total joint practices. Last year they did 2 1-1. This year, I don't know if it's going to be 2 1-1 or they could do 2-2.
Yeah.
I kind of was spitballing. Is it possible they're going to do 2 before they play Chicago, stay up in the Midwest, do 2 more against Detroit before flying down? Don't know. That's me spitballing. Could be that they do 1-1 over there and they 2 against Jacksonville down in South Florida. We will obviously pass that along as soon as we find out. But to me, as much as we don't care about the preseason results, I like the joint practices. It's a good gauge. I'm very curious and intrigued by the idea of having a joint practice with the Detroit Lions.
I'm intrigued by both Chicago and Detroit. Jacksonville, I don't care. Chicago has rebuilt that offensive line. They've got Caleb Williams, obviously at quarterback, Ben Johnson as coach. So I want to see that matchup for the Dolphins defense against Detroit. It's overall, it's toughness, it's physicality, it's coaching, it's going up against a high quality opponent. And I'm talking about the joint practices here because we know in the games the starters are not going to play or they'll be very limited. So this is the joint practices. We remember last year when Jaden Daniels went to work in the red zone offense against the Dolphins defense and just carved them up.
Oh, yeah.
And it turned out to be a harbinger for Jaden Daniels that this dude is for real. So I want to see not only how much progress Caleb Williams has made, see what Jared Goff can do. I want to see what the Dolphins can do. That's more important. And I'm not going to judge, some of the younger guys such as Kenneth Grant too harshly. Jonah Savianaya. Did I say that right? Savianaya?
Well done.
It's close. I said it quickly.
Hold on.
So yeah.
Well done.
I'm not going to judge them very harshly because they're so young. I will look very closely at the cornerbacks. Cam Smith, I'm going to have eyes on you for these joint practices. No matter who the Dolphins acquire, if Cam Smith develops and comes around, that's a huge bonus for that defense. Huge bonus. So he's one of the ones I'm going to be watching primarily. Obviously, the pass rushers, Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips, we don't know how much they'll do, but we'll watch them along with Chop Robinson in those joint practices. And then, we've got to see how Zach Wilson looks because, I'm not going to say Tua's going to get injured, but just in case – look, Tua gets injured in September, right? 3 times he's been injured in his career in September. Twice under Mike McDaniel, he's been injured in September. So, Zach Wilson, you need to be ready to go week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. I'm going to be looking at Zach Wilson in those joint practices also.
Well done. Very, very nicely done. Also, should mention that these joint practice – sorry. The matchups – erase what I just said. The matchups against the Bears and the Lions will feature former Dolphin assistants, Ben Johnson in Chicago, Dan Campbell in Detroit. Yep. Dan Campbell, of course, interim head coach for the final 12 games of the 2015 season. News nugget.
And neither of them was ready to become a head coach immediately after leaving the Dolphins. They had to go somewhere and get some seasoning in both cases. Dan Campbell had to go to New Orleans. I mean, we know Ben Johnson was not nearly ready. I
agree.
But
Dan Campbell, I don't know if I'd call that a slam. Probably not. The seasoning and the learning under Sean Payton absolutely served him well, without question.
Right.
But that dude, his greatest strength always was there from day one as an assistant, which is why the Dolphins made him the interim head coach when they fired Joe Philbin in 2015, is that guy is a leader of men like nobody's business. Guys will run through a wall for that dude.
And congrats to the Dolphins for knowing their staff, because I remember I won't speak for you, but most of the people on the beat were like, Dan Campbell, are you kidding me? And they knew their staff. So congratulations to them for that.
Yeah, and then the first practice where he's doing the Oklahoma drill, we're like, okay, that's why. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Because they went from if, for lack of a better term, they were a little bit, I don't want to say lackadaisical, but they were
uninspired.
Damn, you're on a roll today, man. Damn, no wonder I had you on. I had the brilliant idea to have you on. They were a little bit uninspired under Joe Philbin, and good luck getting away with that under Dan Campbell.
Yep.
Not happening.
No.
And then the other coach, of course, is another first-time head coach, Liam Cohn of the Jacksonville Jaguars. With Travis Hunter, I would be interested in seeing him in joint practices.
Yes.
Well, you know what would be cool, actually? If he works on defense and let him go up against Tyreek Hill. I think that would be fun.
And Anthony Campanelli is up there as their defensive coordinator, the former Dolphins linebackers coach in Jacksonville.
That is correct. We love him. We can talk some Italian food.
Yep, he's great. He's great.
He loves talking Italian food.
Yep.
But really, really good dude, and certainly hope he kills it over there. I hope Lou Anarumo kills it as well as the new DC of the Indianapolis Colts. Doesn't have to be week one.
Right.
But he's another good dude. Got a raw deal to me as far as I'm concerned in Cincinnati with kind of lackluster talent.
Scapegoated.
Yeah, big time. So the latest report, the latest scuttlebutt is Adam Schefter saying that don't sleep on the amount of teams interested in pulling off a Jalen Ramsey trade. And it could be that it's not happening now because, of course, the salary cap implications. This is where Perk and I will tell you, and Omar will tell you, every beat writer will tell you, do not dismiss the possibility that this is somebody who is whispering in Adam Schefter. Get that out there.
Yep.
On that?
100%. It's not a coincidence that this Jalen Ramsey mutual trade news broke the same day that Chris Greer was scheduled to give his pre-draft address. The Jalen Ramsey news had zero to do with the draft, but it became the story because somebody knew Chris Greer is speaking today, and we can get him to address this directly. Quite often things are done with a purpose, and I agree with you. The market for Jalen Ramsey, that chatter getting going now, it's done for a purpose.
And to quote somebody famous who Dolphin fans know and love, the market is the market. You get that? You got it now, finally. Holy moly. Scratch what I said about you being on your game today. I kid. That's what I do. I would still suspect that there would be a team involved, and I certainly still would suspect that the Dolphins are going to be asked, and whether it becomes a deal breaker and they wind up hanging on to him because of that, to eat some of the salary. Because it's $21 million going to the acquiring team for, I certainly wouldn't call him a declining asset because he's still a very good player, but he's not the Jalen Ramsey of, let's say, 3 years ago. And it's a lot to take on at this time of year when most teams have their budget set or their cap in place. Thoughts?
I would like to see the Dolphins play hardball in this situation, and here's why. Jalen Ramsey will be a put you over the top asset, right? He's not going to Carolina to rebuild for the next 3 years. He is a team that's pretty much right there. And so if I'm the Dolphins, it's how badly do you want this guy? Because he can get you over the top. Now, they can try to play hardball too, but if I'm the Dolphins, it's like this dude is a Hall of Famer. We aren't keeping him. He does not want to be here, so we'll deal him to your opponent, your NFC opponent, and he'll help them beat you and get to the Super Bowl. I would like to see the Dolphins play hardball. I don't know what kind of assets they're going to get, but yeah, as far as paying the salary, whatever you can get to maximize Jalen Ramsey, you've got to do it. It's maybe it doesn't work, but you've got to try to maximize this asset because this is a huge, huge loss for you.
No, without question. And it may turn out to be that the Dolphins, again, they may be in a position to perhaps pay for a higher draft pick in compensation. That's the part that also is going to be in play. Like I can certainly see a team say, listen, we'll give you a 3 if you're willing to pay $10 million of the price. If not, you're getting a 6.
Yep.
If we have to absorb all the money. So that's going to be a lot of the back and forth that's going to happen. News nugget I haven't even talked about at all this week on the All Dolphins podcast. This is news involving, he's a very popular former player for the team, which is why I wanted to mention it. River Craycraft, disappointing homecoming to the Pacific Northwest, played at Washington State, signed with the Seattle Seahawks, was released this week with a non-football injury. which usually will indicate that he got hurt training away from team facility or team activities. So whatever the injury is, and not familiar with exactly the circumstances, best wishes for a prompt recovery. Hopefully he can get back into the NFL sooner rather than later. And if you were to wind up back in Miami upon getting back to 100%, I'm not sure that it would shock me, because I know Mike McDaniel really likes to do it.
Yep. And for River, I think River turned 30 last year, or will turn 30 soon. So yeah, hopefully he can maximize, these next 2-3 seasons, because after that, players start to drop off. But Craycraft, good guy, and he's somebody who does have some value on the field, special teams, excellent blocking wide receiver. So hopefully he can find a spot on a roster.
Yeah, and there are two other guys I'm keeping my eyes on in terms of what happens for them moving forward, who are former Dolphin players dealing with medical issues, one of whom is Raekwon Davis, who was released by the Colts in the offseason with a non-football illness designation. This after last year revealing he had, blood clot issues. And then the other one is Grant Dubose, who you wrote about very, 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 very nicely in the Sun Sentinel. Like a really nasty concussion he sustained in that game at Houston last year. He hasn't signed with anybody. And kind of difficult for me to believe that it's not related to that concussion and is, what his future might be in the NFL. So keeping our eyes on those guys, keeping a good thought for both of those players.
Yep. And on a different vibe, I'm keeping my eyes on Isaiah Wynn and Kendall Fuller. Maybe they come back to the Dolphins. That totally different vibe. They did both have injury issues, but it's not as severe as Grant Dubose, or maybe as concerning as Raekwon.
Okay, give me, if you were to guess, one of those two comes back, Fuller or Isaiah Wynn?
Isaiah Wynn. Fuller with the 2 concussions and the season-ending knee injury. I think you're better off rolling the dice on Isaiah Wynn in that situation.
Okay, and then this is where I might agree with you. Personally, I don't see either one coming back.
I don't either.
Chris Greer had a very interesting comment about Isaiah Wynn at the pre-draft press conference without kind of being specific, suggesting that that ship has sailed.
He mentioned him, if I'm not mistaken, he mentioned him in the same sentence with like Teron Armstead and Calais Campbell and Isaiah Wynn. I think it was Calais, definitely Teron and somebody else and Isaiah. And it was kind of in a context of these guys are gone. And I remember writing to you and showing you, did Chris Greer just say that Isaiah Wynn is out of here? And you nodded your head yes. And I asked Greer a follow-up, and I was like, did you just kind of intimate that Isaiah isn't coming back? And Greer said, no, I was just saying that he's a free agent. And I was like, yeah. And I went back and looked at the transcript, and it was like, no, the context was kind of like he's out the door such as these other people. And I'm pretty sure Teron was in that sentence, and I think another player was in that sentence. So it was just the way that he mentioned Isaiah Wynn. It sounded like it was past tense.
It did. I'm trying to look it up here, and I couldn't find it. I'm doing like a word search for Wynn on the transcript, and it's not showing up. Boo. Okay, last topic out the door. Did you have any issues whatsoever? I don't know if you heard them, caught wind of them, the Jordan Poyer comments on Good Morning Football over the week. It didn't take a shot at anybody, and then some fans were getting in their feelings on X. I didn't have a major issue. Anything he said it was a rough year all around. We weren't a very good team. It was a tough year for me. Where's the lie?
Yeah, no, I think Jordan Poyer, the guy who said the Dolphins sometimes fold when they get punched in the mouth. I think people, after you see Jalen Ramsey with the bag of rotted oranges, right? He tweets that, or whatever the context was there. We know it wasn't good. Yeah. And then you hear Jordan Poyer say we weren't a very good team. Poyer is stating the obvious, right? I mean, they were 8-9, and we know the issues they had. They weren't a very good team, but I think when you hear a player say that out loud, it kind of has a different effect. It's kind of like how sometimes, people will say something, And then when they see it in print, it's like, I didn't say that. No, yes, you did. It's on tape. That it's a little more jarring sometimes when you actually see those words. But Jordan Poyer's words do not take me by surprise. I think maybe it's jarring to Dolphins fans to hear a former player say we weren't very good. He's speaking the truth, and he didn't rip the team, so I don't have any problem with it.
No, correct. And again, it's very possible Dolphins didn't make the playoffs because they were without QB1 for 6+ games. The bottom line, but with Tua starting, the Dolphins were 6-5.
Right.
And if you look at their record against good teams, they pretty much lost every
1-4 against playoff teams, and Tua played all 5 games.
What's the one they won?
The Rams.
Oh, the Rams. Correct.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. And then correct. And outside of that, it wasn't there. So even if they were like a borderline playoff team or much more realistic playoff contender, they weren't going to the Super Bowl or the AFC Championship game last year regardless. So I didn't have any issue with it. And we kind of suggested at the time on the All Dolphins podcast that signing him was dicey because he had intangibles up the wazoo, and that hasn't changed. But his career is definitely, I'll do this for you, Perk, because I know you like golfing. I mean, he's on the back 9 and he's closer to the 18th than he is to the 10th.
Much like my life. How about that?
Wow. Perk, you haven't made the turn yet.
Yeah, I've made the turn. I just don't know if I'm on 10 or 17. I've made the turn, though.
Oh, man.
That's the truth. That's all right. I'm comfortable with that.
Oh, Perk.
I hope I just teed off on 10, but
65. There you go. You started on the back 9. 65 is the new 40, so we're all good.
There we go. All right, good. I like
okay.
That.
On that note, that's going to wrap it up. Perk, what's your last column that folks should check out on sunsentinel.com?
It was the schedule breakdown and predicting the Dolphins to finish 9-8. That's 6-2 at home, 3-6 on the road. I'm very, very big on trends and numbers, and that's the trends and numbers for the Dolphins under Mike McDaniel. They're almost dominant at home, and they leave a lot to be desired on the road.
What's the saying that history, the past is a great predictor of the future or something like that?
Yep.
No, and I certainly buy that, particularly if there's no major upgrade somewhere else. I've been meaning to do it, and I said I was going to do it, the game-by-game prediction thing.
I never do that. I treat it like it's hockey or basketball. Obviously, there's too many games to do WL in hockey and basketball. I look at the team, and it's all about the team. I don't look at the opponents. It's all about the team. What do you have? How many wins do you get? How many wins are you worth? And that's how I don't do the WL thing for football.
And yet it's very popular with a lot of fans. What I did do
huge.
What I did do on Miami Dolphins on SI, I may revisit that. What I did do on Miami Dolphins on SI.com was ranking every game by degree of difficulty based on the opponent, obviously the locale and the time and all that. And I'm sure you'll be shocked to find out what's number one. Don't spoil it, Bert. Don't spoil it.
All right. Yes. Don't do the website. Yes. No, I like what you did there, and I like how you handled your mock draft. I like different. So you know how you looked at players and stuff like that. So that's good. That was good.
Well, thank you. Okay, fine, Perk. You can come back as a guest.
Yes, you did it again.
You will always come back as a guest, my man. As long as I'm running the show here, you will always be one of my regulars. He is Chris Perkin, the great one. You have a Dolphins deep dive scheduled for next week, or is it TBD?
It's TBD. We are not sure when it's going to come back, but it will be back. Hopefully, the ratings have been acceptable.
Nice, I like it.
Yeah.
And make sure the ratings here get really good. They're not bad. Stay really good. So please like, subscribe. If you rate, please give me a good rating, please. And we'll be back here on Monday. Major news, barring major news breaking over the weekend. So that's going to wrap it up with all my babbling. Thanks everyone for watching. Perk, you have a great weekend, and so do you, everyone out there. Thanks.